Many years ago, life in the beautiful village of Okaba was simple and peaceful, but it was also deeply rooted in tradition. Among their most sacred customs was the practice of bringing a newborn's umbilical cord to the priestess 3 months after birth. The villagers believed that the priestess could see into the child's future and guide the parents on how to raise the child according to their destiny. This tradition had been followed for as long as anyone could remember. Elders in the village often said, "A child without a guided path is like a seed planted on rocks. It cannot grow." And so, every family dutifully brought their child's umbilical cord to the priestess, trusting her visions and wisdom. Uche and Chika had been married for 2 years before they were blessed with a child. Chika had prayed fervently for a child. When she gave birth to a baby girl, the entire family rejoiced. They named her Ifoma, meaning good thing. Uche's elder brother Odili came to visit with gifts of yam and dried fish. Odili had 2 daughters of his own, Oma and Uli, who were older than Ifoma. They too were excited to have a new baby cousin to play with. When Ifoma was 3 months old, it was time to take her umbilical cord to the priestess. Chika carefully wrapped the dried cord in white clothes, preparing for the important visit. However, Uche, who had been looking forward to this day, suddenly had an urgent business trip that called him away. "I'm sorry, Chika," Uche said as he packed his bag. "I wish I could be there, but this deal is important for our family. My brother Odili will go with you." Chika hesitated. Odili, Uche's elder brother, had always been kind, but going with him for such a visit made her uneasy. After all, he was not her baby's father. Still, she nodded. "All right, Uche, I will manage." The next morning, Chika and Odili set off for the shrine, carrying little Ifoma and the preserved umbilical cord wrapped in a white cloth. The shrine was a sacred place located deep in the forest. It was a small hut surrounded by tall iroko trees. Their leaves whispered in the wind as if they were guarding the secrets of the priestess. The priestess, an old woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, greeted them with a deep voice. "Welcome, child. What do you seek?" Chika handed over the wrapped umbilical cord. "We have come to know what the future holds for our daughter Ifoma," she said. The priestess placed the cord in a clay bowl filled with herbs and began to chant. The room filled with smoke, and Chika held her breath as the priestess stared into the swirling mist. After a long silence, the priestess spoke. "This child," she said, pointing at baby Ifoma, "is destined for greatness. She will become a queen, one who will bring liberation and wealth to her family." Chika's heart swelled with pride. "A queen?" "Yes," the priestess said. "But remember, greatness comes with challenges, so raise her well." Odili, who had been silent until then, cleared his throat. "A queen, you say?" he asked neutrally. But in his heart, a storm of jealousy brewed. His own daughters, Oma and Uli, were older than Ifoma, yet the priestess had never said anything special about them. When Chika returned home, she couldn't wait to tell Uche the good news. As soon as Uche returned from his trip, she rushed to him. "Uche, the priestess said Ifoma will be a queen. She will bring wealth and honor to our family." Uche's eyes widened with joy. "A queen?" he exclaimed as he carried Ifoma in his arms. "Our daughter is destined for greatness. We must raise her like royalty." From that day on, Ifoma became the pride of her family. Uche and Chika doted on her, giving her the best of everything they could afford. Ifoma grew into a beautiful and adorable child. She was loved by everyone in the village. Her cousins, Oma and Uli, adored her and often played with her under the big mango tree near their house. Unfortunately, as Ifoma grew older, Chika was not able to have another child. At first, she thought it was just bad luck. But as the years passed, her worry grew. And then one day, Chika realized that her money was disappearing. At first, she thought she was just being forgetful. Maybe I spent it and forgot, she told herself. But the problem persisted. Every time she was alone with Ifeoma, something seemed to go missing. One afternoon, Oma came running to Chika with tears in her eyes. "Auntie Chika," she cried, "I think Ifeoma took my money." Chika frowned. "Why do you think so?" "Papa left the money on the table for me to buy firewood," Oma explained. "Ifeoma came to play with me, and then the money was gone. It was just the two of us in there." Chika called Ifeoma and gently asked, "Ifeoma, did you take Oma's money?" Ifeoma's eyes widened in shock. "No, Mama, I didn't take it." But when Chika searched Ifeoma, she found the money hidden in the pockets of her dress. Chika was shocked. "Why did you do this, Ifeoma?" Chika asked. "You are a queen in the making. Queens do not steal." "I didn't take it, Mama," Ifeoma cried. "I don't know how it got there." Chika was confused, but decided not to tell anyone. She returned the money to Oma and begged her to keep it a secret. That night, she told Uche about it. "I don't understand. How could Ifeoma do such a thing?" Uche sighed. "Maybe it is just a face. Talk to her, Chika. Explain that stealing is wrong, especially for her kind of person." As Ifeoma grew older, her habits of taking things worsened. It wasn't just money anymore. She would take anything she saw. Clothes, sweets, even small toys. Chika and Uche tried everything to stop her. They scolded her, prayed for her, and even took her to different herbalists, but nothing worked. One evening, Uche sat Ifeoma down. "Ifeoma," he said gently, "you are meant to be a queen. Queens do not steal. People look up to queens. They do not fear them. Please, my daughter, you must stop this." Ifeoma nodded with tears in her face. "I'm sorry, Papa. I don't want to steal, but I can't stop myself. It is like something forces me." Despite Chika and Uche's efforts, Ifeoma's stealing grew worse. At first, it was just small things like coins or sweets, but soon she started taking bigger things: clothes, shoes, yam, even items that belonged to strangers. Wherever Ifeoma went, something would definitely go missing. The villagers began to notice, and whispers spread like wildfire. "She's the unrepentant village thief," one woman said to another. "How can such a beautiful girl behave like this? Her parents have spoiled her too much." Another one replied, "She has no discipline at all." Ifeoma's parents, Uche and Chika, were heartbroken. They had tried everything they could think of to no avail. The situation became so bad that they decided to keep her indoors. "Ifeoma, you must stay in this house. No more going outside until you change." "But Mama," Ifeoma pleaded with tears, "I don't know why I do it. I don't want to steal." Chika sighed heavily. "Then pray, Ifeoma. Pray that whatever is making you do these things will leave you." But even keeping her indoors didn't help. Somehow, Ifeoma would find a way to sneak out. She would climb out through the window or slip out when no one was watching. Her cousins Oma and Uli, who had once adored her, now avoided her. Their father, Odili, warned them sternly, "Stay away from Ifeoma. She will ruin your reputation. And if anyone asks, tell them she's not your cousin." Ifeoma felt lonely and sad. "Why is this happening to me?" she often asked herself. "Why can't I stop?" One fateful day, Chika fell very ill. She lay on the bed, sweating and groaning in pain. Uche was not at home, and there was no one else to help. Ifeoma, Chika called weakly, "Go to the pharmacy and buy me some medicine. Here is the money. Please, don't stop anywhere. Make sure you go there straight." "Yes, Mama," Ifeoma said, determined to do as she was told. She ran to the pharmacy and bought the medicine. But just as she was about to leave, an elderly woman shouted, "Thief! Thief! She stole my phone!" Ifeoma froze. A crowd quickly gathered. "Search her!" someone yelled. The villagers surrounded Ifeoma, and before she could say anything, they began to search her. To her horror, they found the phone in her bag. "I didn't take it," Ifeoma cried. "I don't know how it got there." But no one believed her. "You are a liar and a thief," an angry man shouted. The crowd started to beat her. Some hit her with sticks, while others threw stones. Ifeoma screamed in pain and fear. She thought she was going to die. Suddenly, a car pulled up beside the crowd. A man stepped out, impeccably dressed in a white shirt and trousers, with two tall, muscular bodyguards behind him. "Stop!" the man shouted. His voice was loud and commanding. The crowd froze. "Who are you to interfere?" someone asked angrily. The man's bodyguards stepped forward with stern faces. The crowd was intimidated by the men and backed away. "She's a thief," a woman yelled. "She deserves to be beaten." "Let her go," the man said. One of the bodyguards gently picked up Ifeoma, who was bruised and bleeding, and carried her to the car. They drove off, leaving the angry crowd behind. When they arrived at Ifeoma's house, Chika was shocked to see her daughter in such a terrible state. "What happened to her?" she cried, rushing to Ifeoma's side. The man explained everything. "She was being beaten by the villagers. I had to intervene." Chika's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. May God bless you." The man nodded. "Take care of her." Then he and his bodyguards left. For days, Ifeoma lay on her bed, unable to move. Her body was covered in bruises, and every part of her ached. Chika stayed by her side, feeding her and cleaning her wounds. "Who did I offend, Ifeoma?" Chika cried. "Why is this happening to my only child?" 2 days later, the same man returned. He brought medications and fruits for Ifeoma. "How is she?" he asked Chika. "She's recovering. Thank you for coming." The man introduced himself as Buchi. "I've just returned to the village after many years away." Buchi sat beside Ifeoma and asked her, "What happened? Why did they accuse you of stealing?" Ifeoma looked down, ashamed. "They found a phone in my bag, but I don't know how it got there. I didn't take it." Buchi studied her carefully. "Do you often take things you don't need to take?" Ifeoma nodded as tears poured down from her face. "It is like something pushes me. I don't want to, but I still can't help it." Buchi nodded thoughtfully. "What have your parents done about it?" "They've tried everything," Ifeoma said. "Herbalists, prayers, punishments, nothing works." Buchi leaned back in his chair. "I see. Don't worry, Ifeoma. I will do everything I can to help you." Buchi began to visit Ifeoma regularly, and soon they became friends. Chika was grateful for his kindness, but she didn't know much about him. Even the villagers too, who had been seeing him around, didn't know who he was. "Who is this Buchi?" one woman asked her neighbor one day. "No one knows," the neighbor replied. There is a rumor going around that the prince of the village has returned to pick a wife." The woman's eyes widened. "The prince? Who could he be?" Her neighbor shrugged. "Who knows? I have not seen him before. Only time will tell." As Buchi continued to visit, Ifeoma began to open up more to him. He listened patiently and never judged her. One day, Ifeoma asked, "Buchi, why are you so kind to me? Everyone else calls me a thief and avoids me." Buchi smiled. "Because I don't believe that you're a bad person, Ifeoma. I think you're just going through something you don't understand, and I really want to help." Ifeoma smiled and thanked him. Life in the village continued, and the day of the prince's introduction arrived. The villagers gathered in the town square, dressed in their best attire. The king, an elderly man with a commanding presence, stood beside his queen as he addressed the crowd. "Today, we present to you my son and heir, Prince Buchi." The crowd opened their mouth in shock as Buchi stepped forward, dressed in a white agbada embroidered with gold. The villagers found it hard to believe. This was the same man who had been seen countless times with Ifeoma, the village thief. They began to whisper, "Why is the prince associating with Ifeoma the thief?" one woman muttered. "It is an embarrassment," another one chipped in. Odili, who had been preparing his daughters, Oma and Uli, to meet the prince, felt a wave of disappointment. His daughters were dressed beautifully, hoping to catch the prince's attention, but Buchi didn't even look their way. Instead, his eyes searched through the crowd until they landed on Ifeoma, who stood at the back with her head bowed down. He gave her a small smile, and she looked away ashamed. Later that evening, the king and queen summoned Buchi to the palace. "My son," the queen began, "we have heard troubling rumors. They say you have been spending time with a girl of bad character, a public thief." Buchi shook his head. "The only girl I have been spending time with is Ifeoma, and she is not a bad person. She simply misunderstood." The king frowned. "Misunderstood or not, she carries a reputation that will tarnish your image. Stay away from her." Bushi shook his head again. "Father, mother, if I judged her the way everyone else does, she would have died that day at the market. I see something in her, something that others refuse to see." The queen sighed heavily. "Buchi, you are a prince. You can't afford such risk." But Buchi was adamant. "I will help her, and if that makes me unpopular, then so be it." It was a bright sunny morning in Okaba when the queen decided to visit the village markets. She wanted to see how the villagers were doing and also buy some fresh vegetables. Her car rolled down the bush path leading to the markets, but as she turned a bend, she saw something unusual. A pile of logs lay blocking the road. "What is this?" The queen frowned. She stopped her car, stepped out, and looked around. The area was eerily quiet, with only the chirpings of birds breaking the silence. Suddenly, a young man jumped out from behind the bushes. He wore a tattered shirt and held a gun pointed straight at her. "Give me all your money," he shouted aggressively. The queen froze in fear. "Please, don't hurt me," she begged, dropping to her knees. "I will give you everything." The young man smirked and moved closer. He searched through her car and grabbed the money he found. "Stay where you are or you'll regret it," he barked. But as he turned to leave, he felt uneasy. Something wasn't right. He touched his pockets and froze. "He's gone." It was no longer there. "What?" he muttered, spinning around. His eyes widened in shock. Standing a few feet away was Ifeoma, holding his gun with steady hands. Her face was calm, and her stance was firm. How did you?" he stammered, realizing that she had stolen the gun from him without him noticing. "Drop everything you have taken," Ifeoma said sharply. The man refused and tried to charge at her, but Ifeoma pulled the trigger, shooting him in the leg. He fell to the ground, screaming in pain. The queen, who was still trembling, quickly pulled out her phone and called the police. Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the air. The police arrived, handcuffed the man, and carried him away. In the confusion, Ifeoma slipped away quietly. She didn't want to face the crowd or the police, so she disappeared into the bush before anyone could stop her. The next day, Buchi arrived at Ifeoma's house with a visitor, the queen herself. Chika was shocked to see royalty standing at her doorstep. "Your Majesty," Chika said, bowing low, "what an honor to have you here." The queen smiled. "Please, there is no need to bow. I've come to thank your daughter." Chika looked confused. "Ifeoma, what has she done?" The queen stepped forward and held Ifeoma's hands. "You saved my life yesterday. If not for your bravery, I don't know what would have happened. I am deeply grateful." Ifeoma looked down, embarrassed. "I just did what I could," she said. The queen turned to Chika. "I have misjudged your daughter in the past. I listened to the rumors and thought poorly of her. But now, I see that she has a good heart, and I want to help her." Chika's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We have tried everything to help Ifeoma, but nothing seems to work." The queen made a few phone calls that day. A trusted friend recommended a pastor known for helping people with strange problems. The pastor agreed to visit the palace to pray for Ifeoma. When the day came, Ifeoma and her parents were invited to the palace. The pastor began the session with a powerful prayer. In the name of Jesus, he declared, every chain holding this child captive will be broken today. As the pastor prayed, Ifeoma began to feel strange. Her hands trembled and tears poured down her face. She fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. But something even stranger happened. Back at his house, Odili, Uche's elder brother, started acting erratically. He began to scream and shout, clutching his head as if in pain. Without thinking, he ran out of his house and headed straight for the palace. At the palace, the royal family and Ifeoma's family were startled when Odili burst in. His face was pale and his eyes were wide with fear. "Stop the prayers," he shouted. "I will confess." The pastor continued praying and his voice rose above Odili's cries. "Every hidden evil must be revealed," he declared. Odili fell to the ground, shaking. "I did it! I cursed her! I cursed Ifeoma!" Everyone gasped. Uche stepped forward. "What are you talking about, Odili?" Odili began to cry. "I was jealous. When the priestess said Ifeoma would be a queen, I couldn't stand it. My daughters, Oma and Uli, they had no special destiny. I didn't want Ifeoma to overshadow them, so I went to a diviner and placed a curse on her." Chika covered her mouth in shock. "You did this to my child?" Odili continued. "I made her a thief so that no one would accept her as queen. And I also tied your womb, Chika, so you wouldn't have more children who might outshine my daughters." The room fell silent. Tears streamed down Chika's face. "Why, Odili? Why would you do this to us? We are your family." Odili buried his face in his hands. "I was blinded by envy. I am sorry." The king, who had been watching quietly, rose to his feet. "Your actions are unforgivable, Odili. You have caused pain to this innocent child and her family. You are hereby banished from this kingdom." Odili, who was still behaving like a mentally deranged man, was escorted out of the village by the guards. After Odili's confession, the pastor continued to pray for Ifeoma. By the end of the session, she felt a weight lift off her shoulders and she felt free. "Thank you, Pastor," Ifeoma said with gratitude. "I don't know how to repay you." "Give thanks to God," the pastor replied. "He has set you free." A few months later, Buchi proposed to Ifeoma and the entire village celebrated their engagement. On the day of their wedding, the king made an important announcement. "As we celebrate this union, I declare that the tradition of taking children to the priestess is abolished. Let every child grow freely, without fear of curses or envy. What will be will definitely be." The villagers shared, and Ifeoma and Buchi exchanged vows in a grand ceremony. Ifeoma was finally free to embrace the bright future she was always meant to have. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. Give the story a thumbs up and also share out with your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. Thank you, and remember...